What would it take to make you do something unforgivable? Not a monster. You.
The Lucifer Effect. How ordinary people become capable of extraordinary evil.
Lucifer. The name means light bringer. He was not born evil. He was the most beautiful angel, the morning star. And then he fell. Not through wickedness, but through something far more dangerous, the belief that he could not fall. This is the archetype of the righteous fall. A being of light, consumed not by darkness, but by certainty. The moment Lucifer believed himself incapable of falling, the fall became inevitable. Consider Icarus. His father gave him wings of wax and one instruction: do not fly too close to the sun. Icarus disobeyed not out of rebellion, but because in that moment of triumph, the warning felt absurd. Then Phaeton, son of the sun god, demanded to drive the chariot of the sun. His father warned him, stay on the path. He could not control the horses. He scorched the earth before Zeus struck him down. The pattern is ancient. It is not the villain who falls. It is the one who believes they are justified. Icarus by his triumph. Phaeton by his birthright. Lucifer by his radiance. The justification was the mechanism of destruction. The fall begins with a quiet thought: you are different. The rules were written for lesser beings. This thought is the seed of every fall, and it grows in the soil of success.
These are myths. But in 1971, a psychologist named Philip Zimbardo set out to prove this pattern was not a story. It was a mechanism. Zimbardo's question was simple: is it bad apples that spoil the barrel, or the bad barrel that spoils the good apples? August 1971. Stanford University basement. A mock prison. 24 volunteers. 6 days that changed psychology forever. Zimbardo recruited 24 college students. All screened for normalcy. All middle class, healthy. He randomly assigned half as prisoners, half as guards. The experiment was designed for 2 weeks. It lasted 6 days. Prisoners were arrested at their homes by real police. Fingerprinted, strip-searched, given smocks with numbers instead of names. Guards received uniforms, batons, and mirrored sunglasses that prevented eye contact. From the first moment, identity was under attack.
The first mechanism, Deindividuation. Remove a person's name, their clothing, their markers, and you remove the anchors that keep behavior in check. The guards did not see individuals. They saw prisoners. A category. An abstraction. The mirrored sunglasses severed the most basic human connection: eye contact.
When you wear a uniform or a mask, you become a representative of that role. The guards did not think of themselves as John or David. They thought, guards. Capital G. And guards do not show mercy. By day 2, prisoners rebelled. The guards escalated: fire extinguishers, solitary confinement, mattresses removed. The crucial detail: guards invented these punishments themselves. The cruelty was organic. It emerged from the situation.
The second mechanism, dehumanization. Guards forced prisoners to use numbers instead of names, reciting them until the number replaced the name in their own mind. One guard made prisoners clean toilets with bare hands. They did not say, "I punished him." They said, "We handled the situation." Language removes the human.
Person becomes prisoner. Prisoner becomes inmate. Inmate becomes body. Body becomes problem. Each step of abstraction makes harm psychologically easier. This happens in warfare, corporations, hospitals, and social media every single day. Within 48 hours, one prisoner had a genuine psychological breakdown. Crying, screaming. Zimbardo released him. When told the experiment was over, 8612 was confused. He had forgotten it was an experiment. The role had replaced his self.
When released, 8612 asked what he was supposed to do now that he was not a prisoner. 5 decades of identity, erased in 48 hours. The role did not just change his behavior. It replaced his sense of self.
The third mechanism, diffusion of responsibility. No single guard felt responsible. Each could point to the system, to other guards, to Zimbardo. When responsibility is distributed across a group, it vanishes. The guards did not plot to torture. They simply did not stop. If everyone is responsible, no one is. If the system allows it, it must be acceptable. Each thought is reasonable alone. Together, they create moral paralysis. These were not cruel people. They were students. Some described themselves as pacifists. Yet within days they were conducting strip searches and inventing new humiliations with genuine creativity.
One guard, known as John Wayne, was genuinely angry when the experiment ended. He was enjoying himself. The role had given him something real, power over others. The fourth mechanism, slow erosion of empathy. It did not happen overnight. It happened through small compromises. A joke at a prisoner's expense. A mild punishment. A refusal to question orders. Each step was small enough to justify. But each step moved them further from the person they thought they were.
On day 5, a young graduate student named Christina Maslach visited the prison. She saw what was happening and was horrified. She confronted Zimbardo. She was the only person connected to the experiment who saw it from the outside. And she ended it.
Maslach could see the truth because she had not been inside long enough to be shaped by the system. Everyone inside had adapted. Only an outsider could see the prison for what it was.
Zimbardo himself had been consumed. He was the prison superintendent. He had stopped seeing the guards' behavior as aberrant. When Maslach confronted him, he later admitted he had lost his objectivity.
Deindividuation. Dehumanization. Diffusion of responsibility. Erosion of empathy. 4 pillars of the Lucifer Effect. Act 3. 10 years before Stanford, another researcher asked an even more disturbing question. How far would you go? Stanley Milgram, Yale University, 1961. A volunteer sits in a lab. They are the teacher. In the next room, a learner. The teacher asks questions. Wrong answers get electric shocks. Starting at 15 volts. Going up to 450.
The shocks were fake. The learner was an actor. But the teacher did not know that. At 75 volts, the learner grunted. At 120, he protested. At 150, he demanded to stop. At 285, an agonizing scream. After 330 volts, silence. And the teacher kept going.
Before the experiment, experts predicted that only 1% would go to the maximum voltage. The actual number, 65%. 2/3 of ordinary people were willing to deliver what they believed was a lethal electric shock to a stranger, simply because a man in a lab coat told them to continue.
The subjects did not want to hurt anyone. They sweated, they trembled, they asked to stop. But when the experimenter said the experiment requires that you continue, they continued. For simple phrases were enough.
Milgram called this the agentic state. The subject no longer sees themselves as an autonomous moral agent. They see themselves as an instrument of the authority. The authority owns the action.
Milgram found that distance mattered. When the teacher could hear the learner's screams, obedience dropped. When they could see the learner, it dropped further. When they had to physically place the learner's hand on the shock plate, obedience collapsed to 30%. In 2009, Jerry Berger replicated the experiment with ethical modifications. The result, 70% still continued. The effect is robust across generations, cultures, and decades.
The prison and the laboratory tell the same story. In both, ordinary people cross lines they never imagined crossing. The prison used roles in uniforms. The lab used authority and proximity. Different mechanisms, same result. The situation overwhelmed the individual. Zimbardo's prison and Milgram's lab were separated by a decade. Today, they have merged. The modern world combines deindividuation, dehumanization, diffusion of responsibility, and blind obedience into a single seamless system.
Act 4. The Digital Lucifer. How these mechanisms have been rebuilt in silicon and code. Algorithms decide what you see. They are the guards. Users are the prisoners, not confined physically, but in perception. Deindividuation through anonymity. Dehumanization by reducing humans to data points. Diffusion of responsibility built into the system. The algorithm has no conscience. Your feed is not reality. It is a curated environment optimized for attention. The algorithm discovered that anger, outrage, and fear are the most engaging emotions. Not because it wants to harm you. Because harm is profitable. Cancel culture operates through all four mechanisms. The target is stripped of context. Reduced to a symbol. Millions participate, each contributing a single post, none feeling responsible for the collective destruction.
Each contribution seems small. A retweet. A comment. A share. No single act constitutes harassment. But aggregated across millions, the effect is devastating. Diffusion of responsibility at planetary scale.
The gig economy creates a new form. A driver is not a person. They are a pickup location and a rating. A writer is a service request. The platform mediates all interaction, designed for efficiency, not humanity. When a corporation lays off 10,000 workers, no single executive feels responsible. The CEO approves strategy. The VP executes. The manager delivers news. Each is doing their job. The laid-off worker receives an email from an automated system. There is no human to be angry at. You are not the customer. You are the product. Your attention, your data, your behavioral patterns are raw materials. The prison of the digital age does not have bars. It has recommendations. In person, most would never scream at a stranger. Online, it takes 2 seconds and zero courage. The screen provides distance. Anonymity provides de-individuation. The like button provides approval. Echo chambers are the digital Stanford prison. Inside, you encounter only confirmation. Dissent is filtered. Slowly, the range of acceptable thought narrows. Both prisoners and users lose the ability to see outside the system. In the prison, dehumanization took days. Online, it takes milliseconds. You see a post, and within seconds the person becomes an idiot, a monster, a symbol. The digital prison has no walls, so no one realizes they are inside one.
The digital Lucifer effect has no Christina Maslach because the digital prison has no outside. Every participant is also a prisoner. There is no vantage point from which the system can be clearly seen.
Authority no longer wears a lab coat. It wears an interface. When Google tells you the answer, you believe it. When YouTube recommends, you watch. We have transferred trust to algorithms, and algorithms cannot be questioned. The attention economy incentivizes the digital Lucifer effect. Anger, fear, outrage, and indignation are the currency. The system does not prefer harmful content because it is evil. It prefers harmful content because harm is engaging, and engagement is profitable.
The question is not whether you are a good person. The question is, what system would allow you to stop being one? What circumstances, what structure, what pressure would transform you? The systems that produce the Lucifer effect are not rare. They are everywhere. Zimbardo's research is not about despair. It is about awareness. Once you understand the mechanisms, you can resist them. When you feel deindividuation creeping in, anchor yourself. When you see dehumanization, name it. Awareness is the only antidote. Every prison has a door. The question is whether you can see it, and whether you have the courage to walk through it.
The practical framework: name the mechanism. Deindividuation? Reclaim your identity. Dehumanization? See the person. Diffusion? Take personal responsibility. Erosion? Practice empathy deliberately.
The most powerful act of resistance is simply this: see the system. Name it. Refuse to pretend it does not exist. That alone makes you dangerous to it. The guards at Stanford were not monsters. They were you. The teachers in Milgram's lab were not psychopaths. They were you. The question is not whether you would do terrible things. The evidence says you probably would. The question is whether you can learn to see the terrible situations before they see you. From Lucifer to Icarus, from Stanford to your smartphone screen, one thread connects them all. The fall begins not with evil, but with the failure to see the system that makes evil possible.
Next, the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Three faces of personality that manipulate, exploit, and dominate without remorse. But even these traits have an adaptive function. The line between confidence and narcissism is far thinner than you think.
Archetypes Unbound. The Lucifer Effect.